So Isaac Berzin, founder and CTO at Vaxa Impact Nutrition. Thank you for joining me on the Vertical Farming Podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
Where is home for you?
Very good question. So I spend my time almost equally between Iceland and Israel. So probably the Örlö are where. No, I live in Jerusalem, but I also have a home in Reykjavik, Iceland. So
okay,
50-50.
And we'll get into the specifics of how you ended up in Iceland, because I think it's a really interesting story. But I like the idea of telling origin stories, and I did see your TEDx talk. I don't remember when the year was, but it was interesting because I think it's educational for a lot of people who may not understand the benefits of everything we're going to talk about in terms of a good source for omega-3s and algae, and I think a lot of things that people just take for granted. But I'm curious, where this passion for you started. I know you've done some work with NASA on the space station, and you've also done some work at MIT as well.
Right. So I was at the time a researcher at MIT's Center for Space Research.
Yeah.
Working on a project that was supposed to cultivate different cell lines for the International Space Station, so scientists will be able to see how microgravity affects different organisms.
Okay.
And it so happened that I fell in love with algae at that point. As you mentioned, I think there's a big gap of understanding why they're so vital to life.
Yeah.
Tell people about algae, they think, oh, it's what the pond scum, it's like whatever, it's like removed from life.
Yeah.
Which actually the opposite is true. So and then I was thinking, could they do anything useful on this planet? And if you think about it, Harry, we have like a schizophrenic approach to carbon.
Yeah.
On one hand, we shout too much carbon in the atmosphere. Oh my God, climate change. On the other hand, there's not enough carbon in terms of food or things like that. So what's going on here? Is it too much or not enough? Actually, it's too much gas, carbon, CO2, not enough organic carbon, food. And what recycles carbon from being a gas to being an organic yummy thing? It's plants.
Yeah.
Actually, I used to tell people that everything we eat is light.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, everything we eat is light. Either light first hand from the plant that did the photosynthesis, light second hand from the animal that eat the plant that they use the light for photosynthesis. But that's how nature works. Nature works by recycling carbon. So we're just a part of the cycle. That's all, and we're trying to do it in an efficient way. That's a perspective that took me at the time.
So prior to Vaxa, you founded Qualitas. So can you talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey as well? Because I think that's fascinating, and I imagine there's going to be some connections, as you moved into Vaxa. But can you talk a little bit about Qualitas?
Correct. Yes. So Qualitas was founded with the idea of bringing the first algae-based, photosynthetic algae-based omega-3 to the world. If you ask relatively, knowledgeable people, where does omega-3 come from? They're going to tell you the fish. It's coming from the fish.
Yeah.
And the truth is that fish do not produce omega-3s. They do not. They just accumulate it. But they get it from the algae they eat up the food chain. So algae are the originator of DHA and EPA, which are the health-related omega-3s. And the fish is just the middleman.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea was to cut the middleman and to bring the omega-3 from the source. That's how Qualitas was founded, and the idea was to find something that would be cost-effective. So that we migrated into open ponds. You think what can be more cost-effective than a piece of desert with just a pedal, and this is great. Reality is more complicated. In the end of the day, there are I would say 3 different aspects that you think about. Okay, one is sustainability, which is a big word, but I'm an engineer, so I need to understand in numbers. And for example, if you have an open pond, you have a very significant evaporation. And if you do the math, even if you grow marine algae, what evaporates is fresh water. So in order to maintain a certain salinity level, what do you have to put in? Fresh water.
Okay.
So in the end of the day, it looks like a sustainable thing, but what you have to put in is a finite resource of fresh water. And then the other thing I think is one of the challenges of agriculture is inconsistent quality, especially with the crop that you harvest every day.
Yeah.
Every day, different temperature, different light conditions. So every day you have a different input, and that's very hard for the industry to accept. So this was kind of the learning curve that brought me to Iceland, to a different platform of both, I would say, sustainability and user experience in the end of the day, and the expense of large companies as well.
What was your biggest takeaway during the time you were at Qualitas, which is probably a little over 6 years? What did you learn, and what did you not know going in terms of what would be involved in running a supplement company?
Yeah. So first of all, I was happy to learn that, yes, it does take some education. And it's not for vegetarian. It's a simple question. Do you want your omega-3 first hand, or you want it seventh hand from the fish that ate the algae with all the additional mercury, PCBs, whatever is in the oil? Okay, it's a very easy decision. So I think what I learned is surprisingly, in a good way, how easy it is. Once people get it, they say, "Oh my God, is it like?" So why would I squeeze a dead fish? Okay, so that was an easy part. What was hard was the fact that you do not sell algae, you sell the oil, the omega-3 rich oil. So you have to get the oil out of the algae, and that's a process that you have to be very mindful of, because you want to maintain the natural quality of the oil. In this specific algae, the oil was a polar oil. What's the difference? If you take oil and water, you mix them, oil floats on the top, right?
Yeah.
But if you take a polar oil and mix it with water, it stays in emulsion. So imagine your stomach now. If you eat oil-based thing and it floats on the top, you have the fishy burps then you have no friends, right? So polar oil is a completely different user experience, highly bioavailable. You need a smaller dosage. So the user experience is superior, but you have to maintain it when you extract the oil out, so you don't disrupt this chemical structure. And we made a conscious choice of using green chemistry only. So we don't use any toxic solvents, even if they're allowed by the law, like we don't use it, period. So the journey was harder than I imagined, to get something of the quality that's was not an easy job. It's okay. We with persistence and feeling that, you're doing the right thing, you can go a long way.
Why was this important to you? We'll get into how you started Vaxa Life, but I'm curious about your sort of like your mindset, or, something that I gathered from like the energy of you during the TED Talk is like this idea of doing better for the planet. And I'm wondering like where that comes from for you.
I think it's a natural thing, right? All of us are here for a period of time. And we bring something good or bring a benefit, probably we should. So I think it's the choice of value is like pretty easy. If you can do something positive, why wouldn't you? I would say the other way around. And I was blessed to live this interface between engineering and biology for many, many years. I understand both languages. So I wanted to translate the knowledge I gained over many years to something that will move the needle in the world to the positive direction. So I think we're fortunate to live in this. Think about this, okay? It took us thousands of years to go from hunter-gatherers to farmers, right? Thousands of years.
Yeah.
But in terms of omega-3, what are we? Hunters-gatherers, right? So this is an evolutionary step. It just accelerated evolution, but it's like something we as humans, that's what we do. Okay, we use technology and we apply it to get better quality of life, better quality of products, better quality of, it could be measured in sustainability matrix. So I think it's open to.
Yeah, very admirable. So I'm curious about, think about the early days towards the end of your supplement company with Qualitas. What was going through your mind when you were thinking about starting up Vaxa Life? And what was different, or what needed to change, or where did you see the need different than what you were able to provide in Qualitas?
Correct. So Qualitas is still up and running, and I have the excellent products in the market. But for me, remember how we started this journey. It's a quest of sustainability, and it's a quest for superior user experience. I know that what we bring to the table is the worst camel in the world. Bring so much water, fresh water. I know the value of that. It's a finite resource, okay? And if in the end of the day you have no control over who lives in the open pond, right? Whatever the rain brings, whatever the boar jumps in the water, right? It's agriculture. Did you do a good job? And my answer was not good enough. I think we brought the first photosynthetic algae-based omega-3 to the market, to the world, which is great, wonderful. But is it good enough? Probably not. So that was kind of in the back of my mind. In the end of the day, you have to have an honest quest, and this was part of the journey. It took me to Iceland.
So this is really interesting, because obviously this is it's a really important part of the Vaxa Life story. So did you pull team members from Qualitas? Because I'm an entrepreneur myself, I always think about these things. And where do you look for a team, and what are the skill sets that you need when you're starting something like Vaxa?
Right. So actually what happened was the Iceland kind of found me. The Icelandic government was looking for additional growth engines for the country, because they're based on tourism or cheap energy, but that's not kind of what they saw the future in. And someone decided that algae is a great fit for Iceland, and they were calling me maybe for 2 or 3 years every month and asking me would I just come and see Iceland because it's a great place for algae. And I was thinking to myself, 300,000 people sitting on an island with no sunlight half a year, and they want to grow algae. What a great idea. Good luck, guys, okay? Only when I how advanced this nature is, how entrepreneurial they are, and that actually having clean energy is the way to go, because then you harness the electricity to replace sunlight, and there are many advantages coming from that. Some of them were trivial, some of them were non-trivial, but this combination of cultivating microalgae with a geothermal plant to integrating into a geothermal plant was never done before. So it sounded at the time like a crazy idea. So I reached out to the same team that walked with me from my early MIT days, a biologist and an engineer that were free, but they were my partners in all the journeys I made. And the learning curve I'm describing, I started with no white hair, and hopefully some wisdom accumulated here.
Yeah.
But the learning curve was joint for the three of us. And I was telling them what I saw, and I was telling them about the technology gap. You need to do probably vertical farming of algae, and never done before, not in a geothermal plant setup. And I understand the big picture, but someone needs to develop a new technology. And they said yes. And luckily enough, we joined Ohad, which is the CEO of the company, and he was the first investor. Basically, Ohad and his father just looked into my eyes and wrote a check to build a prototype, to put some proof of concept, to file for patents. And it was just I think it's the feeling of doing the right thing that was guiding them. They're very sharp business people, but they were taken by trust. I will never forget this. How do you gather a team? How do you fund an idea? I remember even the Icelanders that invested in this, they They asked me, Isaac, was it ever done before?
Mm.
And I said, no. Can you do it? Yeah. Okay. There we go. So these are precious moments. Know how valuable and precious they are. It's pure trust of the, some people pay with their time, pay with their, not being away from their families. Some people pay with their money. But it's a group that believe in the idea, believe in you. It's a huge responsibility. I think that if you didn't have a chance to feel this responsibility, it's like something that keeps you up at night. Just the trust level.
Yeah. So
that's how it all started.
So obviously, I get the sense that you definitely had the confidence in being able to produce this in a vertical farming environment with the team you had put together. Naturally, when you start the project, there's probably things that you had not thought of or things that were maybe challenging in the beginning. So I'm just curious, what were some unforeseen road bumps along the way, things you couldn't have foreseen, but that you were able to work through?
Yeah, so I'll give you one example, which was kind of surprising retrospectively, because I should have known better. One of the things that attracted us to Iceland is the clean and cheap electricity, geothermal electricity. That's kind of obvious. When you have so much light, you need a clean and cost-effective source. And then you build a system with all these lights shining, and it's like a damn oven, because a big fraction of the light is converted to heat.
Yeah.
So here you go. Your lights are burning hot. Your algae are a soup. And how are you going to cool this thing? Okay. Thank God that the geothermal power plant is selling two things. One is electricity, but the other thing is hot water. So when you take a shower in Reykjavik, the hot water is coming from the same power plant that sells the electricity. And hot water is coming into the power plant as 6 degrees centigrade cold water, okay, that they then heat to 87 and send it to the showers and the swimming pools, and even a private beach in Reykjavik, you can swim in the winter because of this hot water. Yeah,
that's great.
Right. So then you understand that the integration with the power plant is beyond the electricity. You need to connect to the cold water and need to cool different streams. The LEDs need to be cooled to keep them happy, and different algae strains need to be kept at different temperature to keep them happy. And also recycle the gas phase, and you need to compress the gas and cool the gas so the gas is happy. So you have to keep a lot of thermal balances, but you can do it because you have endless supply of cold water on one hand and hot water on the other hand, and you can play with it accordingly. So that was a surprise. Thank God that it was there, because otherwise, the system would crash after a second, just from thermal management.
Yeah. And so you mentioned the different strains of algae. I think most people who are learning about this may just think about algae as like one kind of algae, but for a bit of education for the listener, can you just describe,
Yeah. So first of all, algae are very sweet. It's a unicellular plant. Okay, I can say plant because I'm not a biologist, but an engineer, I can say it's a plant. It doesn't have any roots or stems or leaves, but that's why it's so efficient in production of what we want. Because, for example, think about this: if you grow soybeans, what percentage of the plant material, the roots, the stems, the leaves, are the beans? And the answer is a single-digit percentage. Yeah. Not that impressive. Most of what we grow is garbage. On the other hand, with algae, it's a basket of nutrition. So a little basket that grows cell division. So it's a beautiful platform to produce food and nutrition. Okay, there are hundreds of strains in the nature of microalgae. Okay, out of the thousands, there's like a handful. Okay, handful of strains that are approved for human consumption. You've probably heard about spirulina, which is a blue-green algae, and the chlorella, which is kind of and there are other additional few that are approved for. But that's the tip of the iceberg. I'm not saying it's a bad way to think about it. Some algae are toxic, so you need the regulation to tell you. It's like mushrooms, right? You cannot eat whatever you see. But we didn't. I think that there was a technology gap that didn't allow us to harness this source of nutrition, which is called microalgae. So it's only the beginning. the way I see it. But I'll tell you something interesting we learned, which was totally surprising, and it has to do with the different algae. Spirulina. Spirulina is well known. It's grown all over the world. It's one of the most famous algae. It's called superfood because it has a lot of protein and vitamins and minerals, etc. But one thing it does not have is bioavailable B12. B12 is usually coming from meat. You associate but the B12 in meat is not produced by the cow, actually. It's produced by the microorganisms that are either in the cow's stomach or on the grass the cow. So B12 is a microorganism product, but again, like the fish, like the omega-3, we get it from the animal.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, I wish I could tell you why. I cannot. It was by mistake. Our spirulina that grows with LED lights, with this specific light combination that was optimized for something totally different, has a lot of vitamin B12 in the most bioavailable form, which is called methylcobalamin. Some are synthetic, are not natural form. It's called cyanocobalamin. But this one is the exact same molecule we have in the cow, the most bioavailable form, and we have tons of it. How come? Honestly, only God knows. I don't know. So I know the condition that leads to that. I had no idea. But then it draws a very interesting line between this specific spirulina and beef. Okay, the line is very interesting because it has a nutritional aspect and it has an environmental aspect. It's probably, if you think about the environmental footprint of carbon, water, whatever, okay, it's kind of the worst thing. On the other hand, if you're not consuming meat, you're going to have a lack of B12 and iron, probably. Yeah. Yeah. And also, it's a beautiful vehicle for essential amino acids. These are the building blocks of protein that our body has to get from an external source. We cannot synthesize them. Okay, so all these are coming with your beef, the horrible unenvironmental beef, but that's kind of it. So think about all the alternative meat products out there in the world. Okay, it looks like beef, it smells like beef, but it doesn't carry the nutritional value of beef. And here comes the missing link, something that you can integrate into the alternative meat product that elevates them nutritionally to something that is equivalent to beef. All that happened by mistake, or I would say unintentionally. Yeah. Okay, so I wish I could tell you I'm the smartest, but no, it just happened.
And so, for folks that are not familiar with Vaxa, what is the current product offering? Who are you producing for? And what are some of the folks that you're working with now in terms of clients?
So Vaxa is a technology company that creates alternative foods rich in vitamins, minerals, and proteins. We use algae as a vehicle, but we're not an algae company. And we do it in a sustainable way. So by integrating the algae, vertical farming of algae with a geothermal power plant. For example, there was a recent study that looked at the life cycle analysis, is measuring your carbon footprint. And it was done by Cambridge University, the Danish Food Research Institute, and the Icelandic Food Research Institute. It's a joint project. And they concluded that the Vaxa operation in Iceland is carbon negative. If you want to be conservative, you can say carbon neutral. Now, I don't know of any agricultural activity in the world that's carbon neutral. It was like shocking news to me. Really? Yeah, this is it. Okay. So it is different. What we bring to market is a basket of products. For example, we have a line of omega-3 products that is alternative to alternative. The experience is amazing. You have no fishy burps. The absorption is very high, and even the capsule is vegetarian. Again, it's not for vegetarian necessarily. It's whoever wants the benefits of a small, efficient dosage, no fishy burps, and a first-hand omega-3. Yeah. So we sell it in the United States. If you go to orlonutrition.com, you can actually choose your product there and get into your home. It's coming in a recycled box. Even the print is algae ink on the package. So the feel and also you get like a glass jar, and then you have a prescription model, then you get a bag with pills, and you can use the same jar over and over again. So this is one line of product. It's based on a specific algae strain. And then we have a different line of products that is based on spirulina. But unlike regular spirulina, the user experience is superior. You don't have the specific. Have you ever tried the spirulina?
Yeah, I actually had a little bit this morning. I've got a supplement as well I use.
Okay, a little bit. Because sometimes I feel that spirulina should be called spirulina.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of stinking, right? A little bit. Between us girls, I would say. So it's a totally different user experience because it doesn't have the specific smell and taste of spirulina. And this is because the cultivation method is completely different. Most of the spirulina in the world is cultivated in open ponds in agricultural mode. What happens there is some of the algae kind of settle to the bottom of the pond, and you don't see it because the pond is completely green and beautiful. But when you empty it, you see what's happening on the bottom gently. It's not something you want to eat. Okay, and we'll stop there. So, so static algae is a problem. It's a protein and bacteria are celebrating on it. So we, in the vertical farming of algae, we do not have it. Everything is bubbling and moving, so there's no places for algae to settle. And therefore, when you smell it, it smells like nothing. When you taste it, it tastes like nothing. And it's so rich in antioxidants that literally, for instance, I did this experiment not long ago. I was giving a talk at a conference and I was telling about this. Color is blue, full of vitamin B12, and you needed to have yogurt with, Icelandic spirulina. And everybody comes to eat the yogurt, and it's something blue. It's a blue yogurt. There are no blue foods, really. So it's kind of your mind is saying, no, right? And then you taste the yogurt, and it tastes like just the yogurt. It's a vanilla yogurt. It tastes like vanilla yogurt. So this dissonance between the eyes and color and the taste is shocking. And then I had the same people coming like 5 times. It was like, so I said, I've seen it before. Yeah, but it's so great. I have to try it again. So I think there's something frightening, but also mesmerizing in the color and no taste experience. But for me, I look at the nutritional value. I'm an engineer. I told you, I need numbers. So I understand how valuable this is nutrition. And that's why I'm happy. What we did is we signed a large offtake agreement with a food ingredient company. I cannot say the name, but the largest players in the world. And it's a 15-year contract, which means that proves the point that going from agriculture to technology, allows large players to make you a partner offering. Because agriculture seems like something you need to pray for the rain. You never know what's going to happen. So no one will be committed for 15 years. But technology, that's something different. So I think it proves the point, that it's a different platform to create nutrition.
And so that's on the consumer level, obviously. And, I think everything that you're doing with Örlö is really interesting because it does seem to be like the future of supplements, especially like recyclable glass containers. And I think people are really conscious of the impact on the environment. And I think when it comes down to measuring the nutritional value, people are probably comparing it to traditional omega-3s. And have you gotten feedback from folks that have tried Örlö and what the difference is?
Yeah. You know what was my hardest customers? My daughters. I have 3 daughters. One of them is a medical doctor. She doesn't believe a word I say to check herself. So this medical doctor, Daniela, so she said, really? That's good? Okay, so I'm going to give it a try. So what she went and did the blood test. So she knew her cholesterol, triglycerides, all the blood works, right? And then she started using it. And after 3 months, so first of all, she gave an honest feedback about the user experience. Said, Dad, there's no fishy burps at all. One of the reasons she stopped using fish oil is because she just suffered from like unpleasant aftertaste. So this was gone, and it's a very easy to swallow pill. So she loved it. And then she went again to the doctor and did another blood test. And then she could compare the cholesterol level. This lady is serious, and she could see significant reduction in all the levels of triglycerides and cholesterol, and I think this was persuading her was my biggest challenge.
Yeah.
But again, numbers talk. You don't need to, and user experience is something very easy. You feel it, right? So if it's something that's easy to swallow, it doesn't smell like anything, you can actually pop up the pill and put it in water and see how it creates a little emulsion. I mean, everything I say is something you can actually feel, touch, relate to.
Yeah.
So what we decided to do now is we're actually starting a clinical trial with the hospital in Israel, and we're going to measure something called omega-3 index. Omega-3 index is different from your blood because it's measuring the omega-3 in the envelope of your blood cells. So it's actually reflecting absorbance, not only how much is in your blood.
Okay.
So everybody, and it's a scale between, I think, 2 to 12. So you can actually, and there are kits that you can online. You put one drop of blood in the kit, you put an envelope, and you have your omega-3 index. So it's very easy to track your own progress on the scale, and it's very easy to know if you're doing better or not. And then it's very easy to compare between fish oil-based omega-3s and algae-based omega-3, which are polar lipids. So now it's a very easy thing beyond your feeling. Again, I'm an engineer. I like numbers, so it'd be very easy to show. Look, this was your progress. How was your user experience? And the funny thing is, you don't have to pay more. Okay, so we're not asking people to pay more for the benefits of having algae from the omega-3 from the source. So I've never met this person who would tell me, no, I prefer the omega-3 from the fish because I mercury included. I love it. Okay, I've never met this person, so I think it's not a hard sell.
Yeah. So for folks that have never had the experience of being in Iceland before, how much of a cultural shift was that for you?
I would tell you something funny. Iceland is a lot like Israel, and it took me by surprise. I never imagined this. Okay, it's a small society. They all know each other. You either played football with this thing or with a guy, or or it's your uncle, or you went to high school together. It's a very small society, very similar to Israel. Everybody knows everybody, and also they speak their mind. Okay, they're not rude or impolite, but they're very straight. Like there's no oh great, interesting, let's see you next time. None of that. Okay, they go, no, good idea. Don't talk to me about this anymore.
Yeah.
Okay,
no small talk.
And for me, an Israeli, I feel at home because I know what's going on, and and no is a good answer. The second best answer is no, so I'm okay. That's fine. We have a team of exceptional people. Okay, as you understand, it's a remote location for me. I'm not their boss. I'm their partner. They're not my employees. They're my friends. We share the vision. They care more than me. They think about it in the shower. And what I see now, it's been, we started in 2017, so we've been a while together.
Yeah.
We, the team that I described, the biologists, the engineers, and myself, we brought a concept, a proof of concept. They took it to the next level. Every time we come, it's better, smarter, more efficient. So it's their, heart and talent is there. And when you look at this team, it's actually very funny to watch. We have people from all religions, all sexes, all tendencies, all ages, like United Colors of Benetton. And in the weekends, they go together. And I was asking them, guys, you're stuck together the whole day. Now, in the weekend, you go together, you have a beer together? I said, yeah, we love each other. That's it. So it's really, you feel it there. It's just a unique, talented, crazy group of people that love to be with each other. Pretty cool.
So talk to me a little bit about the experience of being in that facility, because obviously, I've talked to a lot of CEOs of companies growing a wide range of products now and crops indoors, and then I think people are really open to the possibility of what's possible growing in a controlled environment. And so, can you take the listener through a bit of a theater of the mind virtual tour of what's the inside of this facility look like? What's happening? I'm thinking something like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but except with algae.
It's not fun than that, and just because it's so amazing and mesmerizing, we're actually building a visiting center in which you'll be able to go in, have this crazy psychedelic experience of like this algae growing, and then you're going to go out to a restaurant and you're going to have your pizza with algae in the dough and a blue topping on top, and you have the gin and tonic with the the blue gin and tonic and all of them. So you're going to have a full experience. So we're working on it. Hopefully it will be up and running next year. But yeah, so if you, from the outside, it looks like a regular building. There are no windows, it's kind of closed. Then when you go in, you see something that's about more than 7 meters high. It's a collection of panels. Each panel is like a door. It's 5 centimeters thick, but it's like 2.5 meters high and 2.5 meters wide. So imagine a group of those panels like a cartridges. Okay, so many, and they're hugged on both sides with LED lights. Okay, so you look at it, it's like a big box with many cartridges and LED lights between them, and CO2 enriched air is bubbling in the bottom of these boxes. So you have bubbles. So the sound of bubbles, you see bubbles kind of running around. The color is combination of red and blue, so it's like purple. Yeah. So it's crazy purple color. The bubbles. The magnitude is huge. You have to go, basically we take people inside this thing. Okay, you can go in, we have a corridor that you can go in this thing, and it looks like out of this world. I cannot even explain. It's something you have to experience. And even for me, I've been there 100 times, 200 times. Every time I go there, it takes me by surprise. It's so beautiful, It's just something that really I can't explain. I think you have to experience it. It's and it gives you a feeling of something very futuristic, something that out of this world, something you see in movies maybe, but it's working and it's producing awesome nutrition. Pretty cool.
What are the opportunities for you if you think about looking forward? I'm sure you have a product roadmap. I'm sure you have a vision for where you want this to go. And are there other opportunities that you have through Vaxa that are currently in the works that may not have been on your radar when you first started, but now that you have the facility up and running, what do you see as the future potential?
Right. So I would divide into two things. I would say one thing is we have people coming to us with all kind of algae strains that were actually approved for human nutrition and want to use this facility to cultivate them. As I said, it's a technology company. We just dial in the temperature, the pH, whatever, and then that's what the system can do. So we can keep many algae strains happy. So this is one direction we can grow. Basically, once the regulatory approval for different algae strains is there, we can bring this nutrition to the food market. Okay, so that's one direction. A second direction is people that were asking about, can you only do it in Iceland, or can you only do it in this specific plant? And the answer is no. If you think about what I told you today, is actually you need electricity, right? Which you can get from the grid, right? You don't have to be physically at a power plant. You can get it from the grid as long as it's produced by a clean energy producer, wind, wave energy, solar energy, hydroelectric, whatever. Then you just buy those clean electrons from the grid and be remote. And then you need cold water. As I said, it's a big oven you need to cool. The water could be ocean water. The water could be big river water. The water could be, underground water. There are many water sources you could use. So this marriage, for us, it was a one-stop shop, but the potential, where would you go next is global. So these are the two things I see. It's a technology rollout and it's an algae strains rollout. And you need to find the uniqueness about the algae, right? You need to find something that algae do better than other, I don't think we can, compete with like staple crops, with corn, with soy, these are huge magnitude, very cheap products. I think you have to find what's unique. It has to do with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, essential amino acids, essential fatty acids. These are the direction I think that this technology could elevate the nutritional value of kind of baseline foods.
I imagine over the course of the years, you've become somewhat of an algae expert and connoisseur now.
I have to tell you that the more time I spend with algae, the more I appreciate the complexity. Algae are deceivingly simple, I know I gave you the example of spirulina. Spirulina is one of the well-known algae. Everybody grows spirulina. Everybody tried to, and all of a sudden, this thing that never produces bioactive B12 produces tons of it. It's non-linear, right? It's like a different set of conditions take you to a completely different place. So it's not. It's a very complex system. But over the time, I can tell you, I learned to appreciate them more and more, and I understand why they're the baseline of the food chain, because they're so versatile, so adaptive, they're so reactive. It's like a dialogue. They don't speak, but they react to any change you make. Yeah. And it's pretty fascinating, and it happens fast. If I was growing sequoia trees, I would have a lot of patience. These things happen in terms of hours. Yeah. Okay, the doubling rate is hours, so it's pretty fast.
What's a tough question?
For impatient people like me, it's
What's a tough question you've had to ask yourself recently?
I would like to operate with something in Japanese called mutainai, which is waste not. So when I look at the algae, I want to make sure there's a nutritional home for all the components. Okay, so if you grow an algae and you take the oil and you sell the omega-3, what about the rest? Omega-3 is the majority of the biomass. You have proteins, you have minerals, you have a lot. So how do you find usage for that? So I think, look, it's not that different from a soybean farmer needs to sell the meal and the oil, right? You have two products. Yeah. If you don't sell one of them, you're business. So this is a similar situation. In our case, you have maybe 3 streams or 4 streams that you need to find homes to. So, and many times it's ingredient into something that a large food company would use. So you need to be able to play in many fields at the same time. That's complexity. But I'm learning something from the algae. That's how they live. So I'm trying to do my job and accommodate them. But I think that's the trick. The trick would be to find a home to every product that you make. So there'll be no waste, only value.
Makes sense. I noticed also that you're an adjunct professor at Reykjavik University. What's that experience been like?
So the connection with Reykjavik University is a way to connect to young, talented people, to teach them some of the lessons I learned. I started as a scientist. My business education was 0. I learned things a lot of it the hard way, and it's an interesting dialogue between regulation, technology, and business. This is entrepreneurship, and I have horror stories about each of the 3. Okay, so I'm hoping that I'm giving them the tools to understand the 3 words. Again, you don't have to be an expert, but you have to understand all these 3 words, and decisions are governed by those 3 issues. Okay, regulation, business, and technology. I include algae in the technology side, although it's not exactly true. Okay, so that's something, and then you have a chance to work with these. A lot of the employees start as master students, PhD students, and then we fell in love with them. They fell in love with us and the algae, and then we stayed together. So for me, to connect to the society I will live in and operate in, and share the knowledge, share the experience, and I think it's been so far been working great. It's a very unique place. I again, coming from MIT, I underestimated the talent I could have in a place with 300,000 people. Okay, they are amazing, super. I'm forgetting that I'm not in Boston when I'm there. The amount of talent and curiosity and high quality people is like something I cannot describe. You have to be there.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been an eye-opening and an enlightening experience for you, not only from a cultural perspective, but also from this ability to continue to give back, which I imagine, as a professor now, and you can see young minds really hungry to learn and to understand, all these new technologies, these future technologies. And I think having your perspective and your background is really bringing this interesting mix to them that they probably wouldn't have had the chance to experience otherwise.
Correct. So I'm not only academic. I bring a different flavor to. I'm connecting them to reality a little bit, and I also hope that they learn to ask tough questions. I think a lot of times there's a narrative that is not supported by science. For example, I give you one example. meats are bad for the environment, but vegetarian-based foods are great for the environment. Let's eat vegetables. If you kind of think about it in terms of real numbers of including nutritional value, it's not that. In some cases, the answer is yes. In some cases, the answer is no. Okay, so you have to have a way to challenge the common beliefs. Okay, but if you do that, you are on your path to feel something interesting and different and new. And I hope that some of them, I shook them hard enough so they started asking questions and thinking about this in a different way.
As we wrap up, just curious, what keeps you motivated, to get out of bed on the day to day?
I can tell you that I'm very happy with what I do. I have to pinch myself sometimes to see how blessed I am, because I live my dream. I work with the people I love personally, each one of them, and I feel that I bring a lot of good to the world. So I can't wait for the next day. Okay, so that's how I live, and I know how precious. I've been in other situations as well. Okay, so It doesn't happen every day, but I made a choice. I was a professor in Israel at the time. I was not connected to any kind of venture, and it's like I felt like in a basketball game, the two commentators, they sit in a studio and they comment about the game, but they're not sweating, they're not influencing the score, right? They're just giving advice or comments about the game. I didn't want to be one of those. I didn't want to be a professor that judges other people's work. I want to be in the trenches and fight for something that I believe in. And on that level, I'm living my dream.
It's very inspiring. We're going to make sure we have links to all the site, Örlö, in the show notes. So if anyone has any questions, Isaac, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your inspirational journey. It's really exciting to learn all the different things and crops that are being raised in the vertical farming environment. And every day is like a new adventure for me, because I get to experience the enthusiasm you have, living in a different part-time in a different country, which is not something probably years ago you thought would be part of your life's journey. But it just goes to show how exciting it is to leverage the best parts of this planet, like the geothermal energy that's happening, that you're able to, it's almost like marry these different parts of the beauty of what this planet is to create something bigger and better for humanity. So it's very inspiring. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Pleasure to be here, Harry. And please don't believe a word I say. You're welcome to Iceland to touch, feel, eat, experience everything I just mentioned in firsthand.
Yeah.
And
well,
so,
Reykjavik has always been on my list of places to visit. So now I have a reason and some place to go see as well. So I'll make sure we include that as well. But we'll make sure we include the links. Anywhere else you want to send folks? We have Vaxa.life and orlonutrition.com. Anywhere else for people and listeners to connect with you?
These two are great. Awesome.
I appreciate your time. Thank you, Isaac.
Harry, it's been a pleasure, really.